Okay, good evening, everybody. We will call our meeting to order and start with Pledge of Allegiance. Mrs. Sugars, can you please take the roll call?
Mrs. Stratton. Here. Mrs. Fleischer.
Here.
Mrs. Gallagher.
Here.
Mr. Greenbaum.
Here.
Mr. Mayor.
Here.
Dr. Reed.
Here.
Mrs. Tong. Here. Mrs. Winters. Here. Ms. Stern.
Public notice. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, Public Meetings Act has been given by the Board Secretary on May 22nd, 2023 in the following manner. Posted notice on the school bulletin board at the Administration Building, transmitted to the Courier Post, Philadelphia Inquirer, and the Clerk of Cherry Hill Township. And with that, I will want to open the meeting with a statement. There have been some discussions and questions about the purpose of tonight's meeting, as the public notice of the meeting agenda inadvertently did not include the topic. Human error. Compliance is important, and we will always do our best to ensure we follow the Open Public Meetings Act. The board has put a lot of effort and thought into following a thorough recruitment process for the interim superintendent position. The board is happy to share that we have recently identified a final candidate to serve until a permanent superintendent is selected. While I had previously said we would be voting on the appointment tonight, we are not yet in a place to do so. Due to specific procedural requirements, the next step we are taking is to finalize a negotiated contract with the candidate and have that contract approved by the Executive County Superintendent for Camden County. By law, the board must receive the Executive County Superintendent's approval of the contract before we can formally vote to approve it. We are meeting tonight so that the board can review and discuss the proposed terms of the draft contract in executive session as a confidential personnel matter. After that, the contract will be sent to the county superintendent for review. After a contract is approved by the Executive County Superintendent, the board will then appoint the interim superintendent. This appointment will post in the meeting agenda for our action meeting at a public meeting. We are still on target to appoint the interim superintendent by the board's June 27th meeting. Dr. Malash has been preparing for the transition for quite some time and has assured the board that the timeline will allow for a successful transition. Okay, with that, we move to our first and only public comment period. And then we will move to executive session. This first public comment period is an opportunity for members of the community to comment on matters relevant to the operations of Cherry Hill Public School District or within the authority of the Cherry Hill Board of Education. The board welcomes diverse opinions on relevant matters under established federal law governing reasonable restrictions on speech in public forums. Statements which demean individual community members or groups, or which are irrelevant to the operations of the school district or repetitious, will not be permitted. Community members who would like to present information not relevant to the school district are always welcome to communicate directly to the district superintendent, board president, and all board members via email or other alternative means. And with that, we will go start in the room. If there's any public comment in the room, please approach the podium, state your name and your municipality.
Einhorn, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. So I'm a little confused about your timeline. Not going to vote on a contract until June 27th. So there's absolutely no overflow time for an interim superintendent, unless it's someone who's in-house already. Okay, to learn, perhaps get the lay of the land from our current superintendent. Very disappointed that it's had to go to this last minute decision making. Really think you could have done a better job as far as looking for an interim superintendent. And quite frankly, it was appalling to find out that you're having a meeting between two committee meetings this evening And now you're going to go into exec session to discuss the terms of a contract. While those of us who wanted to come to these meetings for committee will have to wait for you. You could have done the courtesy to the community of having your executive meeting at 8 p.m. after your committee, regularly advertised committee meetings were done. I think that's really unfair. Our time is just as valuable as yours, and that we would even take the time to come see you and hear you in person is also something to be respected for the members of the community. I don't feel that respect. Thank you.
Okay, we will go to the line. And it's a phone number ending in 788.
My name is Jeff Podowitz, and I live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Public comment on HIB FAQ from the Cherry Hill School District. HIB is defined in both New Jersey law and public policy as prong 3, prong III states, substantially disrupts or interferes with the orderly operation of the school or rights of other students. Prong II, and III must all be met before proceeding to the next phase. Contrast that language with the state's model policy guidelines for prohibiting HIB. Page 4, minimum policy language. D, a reasonable person should know under the circumstances that the acts will have the effect of physically or emotionally harming a student or damaging the student's property or placing a student in reasonable fear of physical or emotional harm to his person or damage to his property. Or, and that's or, E, has the effect of insulting or demeaning any student or group of students, or F, creates a hostile educational environment for the student by interfering with a student's education or by severely or pervasively causing physical or emotional harm to the student. The language of our school district's HIB policy guidance as compared to the state of New Jersey's policy and guidance for prohibiting HIB allows our district's determination of HIB to give less consideration to the individual student that is effective. School board and administration, will you please put on the website state policy guidance and our FAQ on our school district's website so the public can compare the two. That is important. Thank you very much, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments in the room? If so, please approach the podium.
Rick Short, Cherry Hill. Like to start off with the timers.
All good.
Rick Short, Cherry Hill. There is an expression, the horse has left the barn. I guess tonight we're going to find out who the intern superintendent is. We didn't quite get a preview of any of the possible people possible. So is this the same way that the future superintendent is going to be picked? Again, the horse has left the barn. Moving on to my 3 weeks of correspondence with the school board. We're now at 3 weeks. Last meeting on May 23rd, Mr. Mayor said the community will be a part of it. Get as many good ideas as there are. And I'm at 3 weeks asking to be a part of the bus safety commission or whatever. I recently found out that Rosa is designed wrong. The Rosa design is a disaster. These architects are supposed to be experts. And whether or not you know it, the way they have it designed, there's 25 to 30 less parking spaces. And there is not enough parking spaces for teachers. So this is another example of how our architect has no idea what he's doing. I can go on and on and on. So again, I ask to be a part of the safety design. I've already looked at other schools. I already have ideas. At Kingston, you're increasing another intersection for a crossing guard that you don't need to do because it's just design bad. It's another design flaw. And there's design flaw after design flaw. And then you have to decide how far you want to go. Do you want to be like Pennsauken schools and have intake curb cuts where cars can pull in? Pennsauken schools has it at almost every school. So are you going to take the harder ones? Some of the schools don't need much work at all. Some schools just need maybe a wider intersection, but there are other ones like East, which I've looked at for hours, watched. So I hope I'm part of the commission, and I hope after I'm named or volunteered, I hope I can meet with Dr. Malash. Thank you.
Okay, we go to the line. I don't know if that's a repeat comment. The phone number of 891, if that is the same person who called in previously. Okay, all right. And we go back to the room. If there's any more public comment, please approach the podium so we can hear from you. Thank you.
Yoni Yaris, Cherry Hill. I am concerned about this new timeline, especially if not so much about Dr. Malash handling the transition, which we all know he will be capable of doing in a day, 4 days, 10 minutes, because he's also going to be a resource going forward because he's that awesome. But I am concerned for what it means to our students and the other family of Cherry Hill, that this person will be coming on after the school year has concluded. When all the talk was when Dr. Malash announced that he was stepping down was to have somebody in place before the end of the school year so that students can be part of that transition and be part of the community. Now that's not happening. And now these students will not be getting introduced to the superintendent and the families who are going to be working with the superintendent for however long this interim contract is for until September, with people going on vacation, summer plans, where school goes in the back burner for good reason. There's a chance for people to recover, rest, and all that over the summer. People aren't engaged during the summer months. And now we have a new superintendent coming on during that period, which doesn't seem like a lot of foresight. I say this as someone who is very complimentary of all you, but I am deeply concerned about this. I've been through interim superintendents as a student in this district. The more time, the better, especially to start that process and get them integrated. We are a very large school district. We are a very diverse community. There is a lot going on. We are coming on literally 4 days before the budget is voted on in the State House. We have already heard the governor using the S word, shut down. And we're now going to bring in a new interim superintendent with 4 days of chaos potentially coming. That's a really scary for me as a parent and as an advocate in this community. I think if you can figure out a way to get this contract done and get it approved at the 12th meeting, at least then there'll be a week of overlap with students still in the building to get the superintendent in to get to learn about the community. I don't know if it's in-house or out of house. I have various opinions, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that timeline needs to be adjusted. It needs to be adjusted tonight. And also we need to know what's going on in terms of what the parent input is going to be going forward and the family's input and the students' input, most importantly, about what does the leadership of this district look like. We've gotten none of that so far. The timeline is ticking for us to figure out what goes on next. And I say this with the utmost respect and someone who would happily be part of this process, but I am disappointed so far. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Green, you wanted to speak?
Thank you, Madam President. I just would like to clarify that the interim superintendent contract cannot start until July 1st. We can only have one superintendent at a time. That will not interfere with the ability of that individual to work with Dr. Malash to prepare for the transition. That has to occur before the person actually takes the seat, and arrangements can and are being made to deal with that. And that does not require the approval of the contract in order to get that underway. So there is a transition occurring. The contract itself will be effective July 1st, and there will be a smooth transition to the new interim superintendent at that point.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Green. Definitely a multi-step process. So understand why there's concern about it, and I think the board appreciates it very much and is working hard to ensure that we do what we can to, for this. Okay. Rest of public comment. Anybody, we don't see any more hands on the line. If there's anybody else who would like to speak in the room, kindly approach the podium.
Eileen Doran, Cherry Hill. I just would say that I agree with Ann's points. Especially on the meeting kind of being sandwiched in here, we're regular attenders and, it would just be respectful of our time to upheld this after the committee meetings that we come to attend. I also, implore you to be really careful about when special meetings come up, do let us know what the topic is. So that there isn't guesswork going on out in the community. And also when the agenda was kind of finally put out yesterday afternoon, it looks on the agenda, if it says, public comment one, for action, that action items only statement is still in there. So I think there may be people who wanted to make a comment, but thought seeing that they wouldn't be allowed to because there are no action items. So people that don't regularly attend like us might not know that they did have an opportunity. So it might need to be reworded when we have special meetings like this. So just something to maybe look at. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Nothing on the line? Anybody else in the room? If not, we will now close public comment. And make a motion to convene to executive session. May I have a second? Or a personnel matter. Thank you. And the board will now meet in closed session to discuss confidential matters pertaining to student matters. Containing to personnel matters. It is expected that the matters discussed in closed session shall be made public as soon as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. All in favor? Motion carries.